When things hurt us, we have a choice. We can become wounded or we can become wise. Unfortunately, most of us choose to become wounded. Now, this is not a criticism. It's more along the lines of us realising that most of us have never been taught how to move beyond any kind of loss and create our better everyday life. And because of this lack of loss intelligence, most of us have no idea what to say, what to do. We never really want to think about it. And most of our relationships are in exactly the same situation. Please don't bring that up and please don't share that with me, because I have no idea how to assist you to move forward, how to become wise from what has happened in your life. So we go into avoidance because feeling the pain hurts. We don't know how to process it. It's stuck inside of us. So we go into avoidance using many of the avoidance tactic behaviours that we have created. And when you look around the world, you can clearly see that we have created a world that will assist us very easily to go into avoidance. Food, alcohol, drugs, anger, working too much, exercising too much, isolation, social media, Netflix. Oh my God, we can avoid for the rest of our lives just by sitting on the couch. Sex, too little, too much. It's an avoidance tactic. And then, of course, the all-time favourite that we have all decided to call retail therapy. Yes, shopping to excess. Avoidance, 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 avoidance. So what do we do? And what is the best way forward? So let's first of all have a look at the 40+ loss events that can occur in any of our lives. Have a look at the list. I'm sure that you can clearly see that you have probably had many of these. As I show this list in all of my events, the most I have ever had is a lady who piped up and said, I am 40 and I have had 21 of those loss events. The major ones are, of course, a death of a loved one, divorce, separation, a job loss, your health, your wealth, your pets. Though after the last few years, many of the minor ones have come to the forefront. Loss of freedom, choice, status, identity, changing work conditions, recreational and social activities. You can clearly see that loss is a major part of our lives, yet we don't know how to move beyond it. I love to help people to understand that our life's journey is an infinite journey where we move from love to loss. And most of us see love as us being on a high. We're up and we're loving life and we're having fun. Whereas loss is on a low. We're depressed. We don't know what to do. We're sad and we have all of these emotions inside of us that will probably erupt at the most inopportune moment because we have buried them deep, deep, deep with all of our avoidance tactics. But it's time for us to realise that love and loss can be equal. It doesn't matter what cycle you're in your life, whether you're in love or in loss. You can very quickly move from one to the other when you know how to easily move beyond any kind of loss and create your better everyday life. I'm Karen Chaston, and unfortunately, I had to go through many tragic loss events in my life in order for me to stop and to look around and to realise everything that I have just shared with you. It took me a while, but what took me even longer was for me to deep dive into me, to look within to find the answers. We're also busy looking outside that we really are not ever going to find the answers, because most people don't have the answers. Most people have no idea how to move beyond loss for themselves. So how can they assist you in your times of trouble? They can't. And when we look around the world, we have so many people who are saying, I'm fine, but in the inside, they are depressed, they are having suicide ideation, and they are starting to really believe that it's all not worthwhile, that it is, especially when you have the 5-step process, which I have called the gift of loss. Now, I want you to be clear, the reason why I have called it the gift of loss has nothing to do with the loss event that has occurred in your life. It has to do with who you become after you take that 5-step staircase, where you will clearly be able to learn from what has happened, to grab those many gems, those many gifts that life has given you through you experiencing whatever you have had to experience. So what is the 5-step process? Well, the first step is probably counterintuitive to all of the advice that we have been given for centuries. Keep busy, give it time, everything will be all right. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not good advice. That has led us to the world that we live in today. No, the first step is for you to stop. Yes, you heard right. I said stop. Okay, most of us are going, what do you mean stop? I'm so busy. There is no way I can stop. Well, the stopping is the best thing that you can do for yourself, the best thing you can do for whatever you have just lost, and also the best thing that you can do for all areas of your life moving forward. Because you won't go into avoidance. You will stop. You will deep dive into what has just happened. You will look at, what does that mean for me moving forward? That's the best advice you can do, because when you stop, you move very quickly to the second step, which is acceptance. Because when you accept what has happened, you can then start to feel into the emotions of what has happened. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy, but it is so rewarding. I can tell you now, I have the pleasure of working with many people, especially with a lot of men, and men aren't very easily. It doesn't come naturally, because probably for centuries and centuries we've been told them, don't share your feelings, be tough, present that outer toughness outside and just die within. Just do that in your own quiet times. Well, that's not good. And that has led to such a huge suicide rate amongst men. Sure, women suicide as well, but if you look at the statistics, it's mainly men, because they have no one to share their inner thoughts with. And they suffer in silence, in isolation. And I had the pleasure of working with a 71-year-old man recently, and he said, people will think I have a lot of friends, but I don't have any. There is no one that I could sit with and share my inner feelings, what I'm going through. They're not willing to listen. They don't know how to respond. And I can't believe that I got to 71 before I found someone where I can share my feelings and know that I'm not judged, know that she is listening to me, and more importantly, she is guiding me to be able to learn those lessons, to grab those gems, so that moving forward, I know what to do. I know what to stop doing. I know what to start doing. I know what to continue doing. Because let's face it, if we haven't deep dived in and found those gems, we will just be on automatically repeat. And then we wonder, why am I marrying the same person in a different body over and over and over? I'll tell you why. Because you never grab the gems and the lessons from the first relationship. And until you do, life is going to keep putting you into a similar scenario so that you can learn that lesson. Whether you believe it or not, we're here on a spiritual journey. We came down here as spiritual beings to live a human experience, to work through all these challenges. And yet we haven't even figured out how to do that with ease. And that's why I love my better way forward, the gift of loss. The third step is to identify. Now, this is where we deep dive in and we identify so many things about the relationship that we have just lost. And it can be a human-to-human relationship. It could be through any of those things, or it could be a job, a professional. Here I go. It could be a professional job that we just love so much. It could be our company that we have lost. Whatever it is, we can deep dive in. And we can identify things that we would like to apologize for, things that we would like to forgive, and things we would like to acknowledge. We can also deep dive into our hopes, dreams, and aspirations that we had for that relationship. It's very important for us to realize them and to identify the things that we can still have. Sure, they're going to be slightly different, but we can still create them, which is an amazing thing, an amazing awareness. Because when you are deep dived in and you're hurting and you truly are wounded from it all, that's when you don't see the other perspective. You don't see the light. You don't see the way forward. And that's what I love about that. The fourth step is we complete the relationship. Now, when I say complete the relationship, it's really clear and it's really important for me to assist you to understand that in every relationship, there are three aspects. There's a physical aspect. That's the way we hang out together, the things we do, the things we say, the way we touch each other. Then there's the emotional aspect. And that is all encompassing of the good, the bad, the glad, and the sad. And it's important that we understand that every relationship has that. That's how we learn and grow together or sometimes apart. But it's important for us to deep dive in and to understand when we started to grow apart. And then the third aspect is the spiritual aspect. And that's that intangible. We know we're connected to this person, place, or thing. We just don't understand why we are so connected to them. And when we understand that, we then can realize that all we are completing is the physical part of that relationship, because the emotional and the spiritual will live on forever. And when we take the angst out of the emotional part of that relationship and we've deep dived in and we've found those gems, that's when we can truly have a relationship, an emotional and spiritual relationship with this person that doesn't continually wound us and put us back into trauma. Sure, we will have sadness, but sadness is completely different to trauma. And I'm sure you are very aware of that. And then, of course, the fifth step is what we call the pivot. And that's where we deep dive into every single area of your life. And in the Chasten model, our wellness wheel has 9 areas of life, which is a lot to remember. So I've broken them down into 4 pillars: all about you, all about your relationships, all about your expertise, and all about your wealth creation. And the beautiful thing about it is when we start that exercise, we'll do an exercise where you can clearly see just how unbalanced your wellness wheel is. And then you start to realize, if you likened it to a car, how far do you drive if your wheels are unbalanced? Blop, blop, blop. It's not an easy ride, is it at all? So when you relate that to the life that you're living now, you can possibly understand why you're not having an easy ride right now. And that is the gift of loss process. But the beauty of what I have found with working with my clients, and especially after I've written my Demystifying Loss book, which was truly so healing for me, to heal from my tragic loss events, especially from the loss of my daughter, who at 16, I found myself pregnant and adopted her out. But, that now she is in my life, but it's been a long healing journey. And then in 2011, the death of my beautiful son, Dan, my husband and I found him at our back door, and unfortunately he had passed away several hours earlier. All of these things were not easy, but the more I deep dived into me, the more that I truly realized that I have lived that, so that I can assist others to deep dive into their loss events. You are a sum of all of your past experiences, and you don't have to live wounded. You don't have to live in your avoidance tactics. You truly can do that deep dive within you and find your gems and find your authentic self. Lack of a loss intelligence has stopped us from truly understanding how we have all come down here, not to survive. We've all come down here to thrive. And when you know how to move beyond any kind of loss, you truly will thrive in all areas of your life. It's time. And as Carl Jung says, he who looks outside dreams. He who looks within awakens. It's time for us all to awaken.